Life was pretty simple, actually. I remember, since the time I can remember things, I remember always wanting to play cricket, just hold a cricket bat and just hit balls. So yeah, that's my earliest memory of knowing that I want to do this as a profession. And slowly in time, I asked my father one day to, because I used to go and play in the park regularly, and then I was able to watch games on TV and then copy exactly the things that were happening on TV, like the professionals did. And then my friends told me, you're pretty good. I mean, where did you learn this? And I used to tell them I saw it on TV yesterday, and I thought I'll try it here, and I used to execute it properly. So we grew up in a housing society, and people were always together, always, friends spending time with each other, just being kids, really, just having fun in life and just enjoying life every day. And yeah, it was a beautiful time.
How would you describe the rented house that you grew up in?
I think it was around when I was 13 or maybe 14 years old when we started staying on rent. And I remember that because my brother wanted to set up a business, and we had to sort of get the finances going, and we didn't have anything, so we had to get rid of our house and put in money into the business and stay on rent from there. And then the business boomed, and then it collapsed, and the situation became really difficult. So yeah, those early years of me getting to play for the state team, which is the Delhi team, in age group cricket. So we have what you call under 15 level, then the under 17s, then the under 19s. So all that time we were staying on a rented place, and it's actually a very tricky time to remember, because you're not really sure whether you're going to make it professionally or not. Suddenly you realize the competition that's around you, and you have to outperform everyone, and then there's so many other factors when you're growing up and you're wanting to play eventually for your country. So yeah, that was a tough time. I mean, we didn't have the resources that we would have expected to as a family. And
What led to the business collapsing?
it was a combination of a lot of things. A few people who we trusted sort of breaking your trust. That's the reason why most things fail, because you trust people and then they betray you of sorts. And then the recovery was very difficult, because you take a lot of effort and time to set up something, and then it collapses, and then you don't have the resources to establish anything again. So yeah, I remember that time being very volatile. It was something that all of us felt was very tough to be able to find resources.
What do you think was the hardest part of going through that?
The hardest part was I lost my father as well. After I was 17, just turned 18, and I was playing my first year of first-class cricket. So first-class cricket in India is the highest level of state cricket, and after that you start playing for your second level Indian team, and then eventually the Indian team. So I was at that level, and it was my breakthrough year, and that's when my father passed away. So I think that was like everything's going bad, and that for us was the worst part of it all.
I wanted to ask you about your parents, and there's a funny moment involving your dad as well. But what do you think you learned from your folks?
What I learned from my dad was, as you can understand, in junior level cricket and coming up in any institution, you have a lot of things happening around selection and people being favored and doing the wrong things, and it's a lot of manipulation happens in terms of the important people getting their way and stuff like that. So we faced that as well, and there were many instances when I was growing up when literally my father was told that if you want your child selected or something like that, you'll have to do a few things to get him there.
Meaning what?
Meaning, doing a few favors for people, or just entertaining people for the sake of it and stuff like that. And he was a self-made man, and he thought, no, this is not the right thing to do. I'm not going to entertain someone just so that my son can play state cricket. If he is good enough, he's going to make it on his ability, and if not, so be it. And because he was so strong and self-made, that taught me a lot of things, because had he chosen the wrong path for me, I would have become a guy who looks for excuses. because you learn everything from looking at what your parents do and the example they set. So I would have become a guy who looks for excuses, maybe could never reach the highest level. So what that taught me was to just believe in yourself, believe in your performances, and that's the only thing that will always speak for you. So those were the most important teachings for me growing up, to see the right thing happening in front of my eyes, and purely because we didn't also have the resources to do anything which was, outrageous or extravagant, that taught you the values of life.
You're 12 years old. Tell about when your father accidentally abandons you when you're kite shopping on Independence Day.
So my father was, as I said, self-made man, and he was very particular about rules and regulations. And for some reason, I forgot to get my the helmet to sit at the back of the scooter that we used to have. So he had his helmet on, and it was a Sunday, and I actually halfway he realized that I don't have the helmet on, and I told him it's fine, it's a Sunday, no one's gonna be there on the streets, no one's gonna catch us. And I was just being stupid, I was just being excited to just get out of the house and get those kites, because that's a big festival in North India. The Independence Day is celebrated by flying kites, and that's that sort of thing, so it's huge. And I was so excited to just get my stuff, and he took me there. So on the way back, we saw a shop where people were selling fruits, and I love watermelons. So I told him I want a watermelon, and they were big, like nice green watermelons there, and the guy cut it, we tasted it, everything. Okay, this is the one we're getting. And by the time I came out, I had the bag, and there used to be a hook in front of the scooter. So I went to put the watermelon on the hook, and I don't know what happened. By that time, a couple of traffic police guys were walking towards us, and they were randomly just walking on the street, right? They didn't even notice that I have a helmet, or the scooter was parked. And for some reason, he panicked. He thought they're coming to catch us, and he thought I'm on the scooter already. And before I could get on the back, he just rode off. And I'm standing there on the road looking at him just going away, and I'm thinking, I'm shouting, and the helmet used to have, used to cover your ears back then. So he couldn't hear me. And because of the sound of scooter as well, he just went off. And he didn't come back for 10 minutes, and I'm thinking, what the hell is going on? And then I took another mode of transport to go back home. We call those things rickshaws here, like a cycle kind of a thing. And then I'm sitting on one of those. So apparently he went back home and he asked my mother where I am. And she's like, what do you mean where I am? You took him with you. You should know where he is. So then he came back looking for me, and I was on this thing going back, and he's shouting from across the road, shouting my name, and I just turned my head. I didn't want to speak to him. I kept ignoring. I was like, how the hell can you do that to me? How can you leave me on the road? So yeah, that was a pretty funny moment, and I gave him a lot of flack after that.
And you had talked to him for like a couple days after that, right?
I didn't speak to him. I couldn't believe me. He left me on the street and went back home. He actually reached home. I could not believe it. I was like, okay, fine, you should remember that your child's not sitting behind you. He just went home. So yeah, I didn't speak to him for 2 days.
I hear you do a good impression of when Gagan's brother got hit in the head and passed out playing cricket.
It was so funny. Yeah, so a very good friend of mine, Ishant Sharma, he plays Test cricket for India. So he's been a good friend of mine since he started playing for the state, because I played with him, all age groups, everything, and we play for the country together as well. So he was playing for his club against us in a game, and I had played state cricket with him. So me and Gagan's brother, we used to bat together. We used to walk out to bat together. So I told him, and he never wore a helmet, right? Like for protection on his head. And I told him, please wear a helmet. This guy is fast. He bowls fast. He's like, I'm not scared of anyone. I know. And he was a good player, Gagan's brother. So I knew he's a good player. I said, I know that, but I played this guy. He's fast and he's tall, so he can hurt you. He didn't listen to me. And the first ball he bowled, he played it quite well. The second ball he bowled a ball which came towards his head, and then he just went for a shot and it hit his head. So Sikh people in India wear something called a turban, okay. And then there's a smaller version which is like a cloth around their head. So he was wearing that. So he got hit on the head. I went to him and he was pretty fine about it. I went to him, I was like, "Are you okay?" And he's like, yeah, I'm fine, don't worry about it. I'm all good. He's not that quick. So the moment he turned around, Ishan turned around to bowl again, in that whole process, I turn around and I don't see his brother anymore. And he's sitting by the umpire on the other side. He lost total sense. He was nauseous. He kept swinging around and then he went and sat on the ground next to the umpire. And we panicked. We laugh about it afterwards, but we thought he's gone mad. You know, he got hit on the head. And he just went and sat next to the umpire and everyone's looking at him, and then we had to take him to the hospital, and then he had a few issues, then it got resolved, but it was so funny. He said, I'm fine, but then after 10 seconds, he's not even on the pitch. He's sitting there on the other side of the field just all by himself.